the subalpine of the Rocky Mountains, you will find whitebark pine. This tree is a keystone species supporting life at high elevations. Conservation expert Adrian Leslie shares more about why this tree is so important.
Species, right? It is a keystone species. Yeah. Could you just describe why it's a keystone species?
A few different things. One is the cones themselves. Yeah. The seeds within the cones are like they're pine nuts, so they're really a lot of fat and energy in there. There's more energy than chocolate. All wildlife that's up here is going after those cones. Everything from squirrels, birds, bears, you name it, are going after that. And it's the Clark's nutcracker in particular is a bird that relies on whitebark pine, and whitebark pine relies on the nutcracker for the dispersal of the seeds. So the nutcrackers themselves that just plant the seeds in groups of sort of 2 to 20 seedlings, like the seeds about an inch under the ground, and it's those ones that are, if they're forgotten about, that regenerate.
This magnificent tree is an endangered species. An introduced fungal disease commonly referred to as whitebark pine blister rust has devastated its populations. The mission is to identify and conserve genetically resistant species to the blister rust. Conservationist Nick Picalo tells us more about the blister rust fungus.
So the main threat is an invasive fungus called white pine blister rust. It's really just floating in the air everywhere around us. It'll land on the needles. It'll enter through pores in the needles called stomata, travel into the bark, and will start to form under the bark. It'll push up through the bark and cause a canker. As you can see here, a very small active canker. These are spore sacs from the fungus, so it's right now in its fruiting cycle. If you can see, if we touch these, we have some spores releasing there. But this is just one part of the life cycle of blister rust. So we'll also have an inactive period, and that is much harder to identify. So when we are looking for inactive rust, there's 5 main signs that we're looking for. So the first one that I usually look for is flagging, which is a dead branch with red needles. Another one is rough bark. So after it goes through its active cycle and pushes up through the bark, it will leave really cracked and roughened bark. Swelling is another one. So on a branch, you'll often get, you don't see it here, but you'll often get a spindle shape. So really skinny, and then it'll go wide and then come back to a skinny shape again. Oozing sap is often very characteristic as well. And the last one is chewing, often by rodents like squirrels and porcupines. Sugars will form in the area where the canker is, and that's really attractive to all different types of rodents, so they'll often chew through the bark.
We're just getting packed up and ready to go for the first hike up Grassy Mountain.
Early in the season, specialized low-impact climbing techniques are used to cage the cones of specifically selected whitebark pine trees.
So we have Caroline and Lindy here, team cone collectors, and they are practicing a technique to get the cages up into the tree. Pass it around my rope and capture it around the bottom of the tail, and then pull it tight and you'll get.
The safety of tree climbers always comes first. Training and education focuses on practical skills such as knot tying, system assemblies, anchor point selection, and personal protective equipment. All techniques are practiced and coached to ensure safety, confidence, and efficiency.
Now I'm going to load test the whole system, and that's my base anchor setup. Now,
if a whitebark pine is found to be free of the fungal blister rust, tree climbers will carefully ascend their way towards the top to place cages around their cones. These cages keep the Clark's nutcracker from removing the seeds from the cone while the seeds mature over the summer. Later in the year, mature seeds will be collected. The teams performing this work come from various backgrounds, all with a common goal to help preserve whitebark pine and their mountain ecosystems. We ask a couple of the climbers how they got involved.
I'm Caroline. I'm just doing this whitebark pine arboristic training, climbing trees.
and what got you into cone collection for conservation?
Well, I've always been interested in whitebark pine. There's like just those like gnarly big trees in the alpine, and
cool.
Like just knowing that they can be 100 years old and super gnarly looking and still growing. It's just amazing. And then they're struggling a little bit with climate change and then with like their forests just growing on them.
My name is Lindy Lin. I work for ONA.
And how long have you been with ONA?
I have been with ONA for 2.5 years. I started as a technician, which is wildlife technician, and now I'm a project manager.
Cool.
And so cool to be working on the whitebark pine ecosystem here and helping the whitebark pine to recover. And hopefully we could cone as many trees as we can.
And what got you involved with the whitebark pine collection and conservation stuff?
So I am a botanist, novice botanist. I am always interested in ecosystem, protecting the whole ecosystem. And I really enjoy working with plants, and trees are part of the plant.
It's 2025 and we're out here with Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation of Canada. And they want to thank all the other organizations involved for their efforts in preserving a keystone species in the alpine environment. These awesome climbers know all about staying safe. Turn to someone to your left or right, give them a big high five and say, I'm qualified. I'm qualified. Yeah. Nice job, man. Awesome work, guys. For those that are interested in helping conserve whitebark pine, what can they do to either learn more, get involved, or help identify the rust?
Well, the number one thing we're really looking for is to find places where we can collect cones. So if you're out hiking in the mountains and you find whitebark pine, take a picture of the cones and put it on iNaturalist, and then I'll find it and we can go look for the cones there.
With the help of teams all across Canada, thousands of whitebark pine have been planted and their ecosystems supported. The hard work of identification, assessments, climbing, collecting, and planting are all a part of the conservation effort. If you would like to get more involved, visit the Whitebark Pine Ecosystem Foundation of Canada website. Click on the member page to join the organization, and you can also donate to support with the button on the top right. Ensuring the survival of whitebark pine helps ensure the survival of all alpine and montane ecosystems across Canada. Thank you to all past, present, and future who strive to preserve our backyard.